And welcome in everybody to the Landry Football Podcast. I am Chris Landry. Excited to be with you as always. We've got quite a few things on tap today. We're going to talk wide receivers evaluation.
With you as always. We've got.
As I will fix the electronics here. Talk about receivers. A little bit receivers and tight ends. The evaluation process. What to look for. The critical factors there. We're going to get into that. We're going to have some news of the day. We're gonna get into that. Take your questions in the mailbag section. So we got a lot of fun. A couple of things we want to remind you on, and I will remind you a little later as well. But first of all, I want to tell you and ask you to subscribe, like, and subscribe to the Landry Football Podcast channel to make sure that you get this podcast drop to you every day to your mobile device. And we appreciate those of you that are listening to this. We encourage you to watch us live on Twitch TV. Twitch.tv/Chris Landry Football is where you want to go to catch this show live. A programming note, if you're watching this show, we always like to keep you up to date. We hate changing, but sometimes it happens. We do the show live at 5 p.m. every Thursday, the SEC Football and Beyond show. We're going to have to adjust it tomorrow. Neil has something that's come up that he needs to tend to, so we're going to actually do that show Friday morning live at 9 a.m. Central, but we'll still get you your second edition of SEC Football Beyond this week. A reminder, over at LandryFootball.com, you can get all the news and notes of everything going on around the world of college football. We're going to get to a few of those as we head to the notebooks. What's happening in college football today and in the NFL. We're going to get to both. Big news today that I wanted to talk about that I think is interesting is just as I went live here, there's an official word that the Big 12 has sent a cease and desist letter. We did say they'd be lawyers, right? A cease and desist letter to ESPN, our broadcast partners. Basically, we've discussed the point of ESPN, Disney has been very involved in this process of the expansion, and obviously it's to the detriment of the Big 12. And what's going to be interesting, like, I have no idea. I don't know that I'd say that it's fun or not, but it's interesting at least because you don't know where this is going to go legally. The Big 12 fold, can they legally try to sue ESPN? I mean, have they done anything wrong legally? I guess that's up to interpretation. Doesn't appear like they've interfered with anything other than, as of the end of the grants of right agreement, we choose to not stay, and I'm sure there's some maybe legal renderings that could tie in ESPN and SEC and the Texas Oklahoma folks. But it's interesting. It's news. I don't know that it's big news. I don't know that it's anything that's earth shattering there. What I thought was real interesting today as we get into the name, image, and likeness. Quinn Ewers, if you don't know who Quinn Ewers is, along with Arch Manning, is an elite quarterback prospect, the best one in the country from the state of Texas, is going to go to Ohio State, maybe sooner than we thought. He's considering skipping his senior year in high school. We've heard this rumor back a few weeks ago, and going into Ohio State early because it looks like he can get a name, image, and likeness deal done. This is probably not the last time we see that, but it is amazing how things have come along down the road into where we're at this point, where we're sitting here talking about kids that are going to skip their senior year in high school. I've said before, when I was a recruiting coordinator at LSU, we wouldn't offer a kid a scholarship until their senior year in high school. Now, I'm not saying that's the way it should be now. If you're that late on it now, you're dead. So it's a different world, I know. But just to give you an idea, and I realize the 1980s are a long time ago. It doesn't feel that long to me. But to see how much has changed. Now kids perhaps opting out of their senior year in high school. Did you see Aaron Rodgers' press conference today? If you haven't, check that out. We say hello to Kev Belargo. Where have you been, my man? I guess he's been out on vacation. Great to have you in the chat room. And by the way, join us in the chat room live. Check with us, cheer us on a few bits. We love you, and we're going to get to your questions and your thoughts. But cheerio, my man. Kev Belargo joining us. Good friend, longtime friend of the program. Did you hear Aaron Rodgers' press conference today? Wow. Among other things that he said, and I don't want to spoil it for you. What do they call it? Spoiler alert? Among the things he said, he wanted to come back so that he can, how did he phrase the word? I'm paraphrasing. Help correct some of the mistakes, or not correct the mistakes, but help the front office learn from their mistakes of the past on how they handled certain veterans and what they offered, didn't offer it. Oh, man. And then made the comment that, gosh, it shouldn't. I mean, it may be true, but do you want to say it? Said, Green Bay's not exactly vacation central, and people come here to play with me. It's true, but did you really want to say that? I thought that was really interesting, and there was a lot of that. So it's going to be very, very interesting over this past year how this plays out. Clearly, there's going to be no olive branch. There's no mea culpa, may sing holy hands singing kumbaya between the Packers organization and Aaron Rodgers. This is going to play his season, get his freedom, and move on. This just doesn't. But it was, very tied into. I've gone to the Packers and told them about players and, guys that are represented by my agent and, not being involved and all that. Well, let me just say this. This is a case of somebody that really is a great player, and it's the entitlement. I call it, take a cheap shot, the NBA factor. Well, they're the player, they're the big boy there, and they're the difference maker. So therefore, we should make all the decisions or be really involved in it. Well, no, you shouldn't. I always, if a player wanted to come and talk to me about, in fact, I would often do it. You're a player, you came out of school X, you may know somebody that obviously we're scouting in this year's draft class. You want to shed some information about the kid's personality, work ethic, character. Do you like them, don't like them, how was he in the locker? All those things are taken into account. Very, very good. But I'm not going to sit there and tell you what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. I'll take the information like I take any information, and I'll make the decision on how we need to evaluate the player and ultimately where we put the grade on them and whether we sign them or draft them or not. That's not the player's qualifications. That's the job, those of us that are given that. It does not mean, though, if, and I say if you maybe don't show proper respect of a veteran leaving, and again, I'm not in the building there, but when you're dealing with a player and releasing a player, I think there's a certain deal of respect, and if that respect was not handled properly, then I think that's something you can learn upon. But making this more about I want to be involved in the decision, no, sorry, that's to me that's out of line, beyond arrogant, and not something that I would put up with. Some other news of the day that I thought, going back to college football, Clemson. Rich get richer, really good commitment for them from Jaden Lucas. It was expected, but he's a 5-star corner, big corner, lengthy, 6'2", 185-pound corner. It's from the Palmetto State, Molden High School. Ohio State, North Carolina, and Clemson were the finalists there. It's really, really good. It's the secondary in this class of 2022 for Clemson is incredible. You've got Lucas, you've got Toriano Pride, you've got Dalen Everett. They're 3 of the top 10 corners off the recruiting board in the class of 2022. So they hold on to those guys, and they usually do a pretty good job of that. Very, very impressive. Got some information in our notebook today about that, but also about Tyson Chandler and how he has done so far, the transfer from Tennessee in North Carolina's offseason program, and how he's fitting there. 210-pound back, how that's going to play out. Some Pac-12 information, particularly since media days were held yesterday. So check that out over at LandryFootball.com. In the NFL side, I mentioned the Aaron Rodgers situation. We're down to just one rookie, Zach Wilson, that hasn't signed his contract. I've got some news and notes about Javon Kinlaw's knee swelling, some issues there. Henry Ruggs' new physique there. We've got some information. Austin Ryder is still a pretty good center out on the market. We've got some information there on him. Xavier Howard, who's interested in him? He wants to get traded. Some teams have called where that's going to go. We've got an update on that. Also, some situations in Houston we've got covered. What's going on in the Jets camp, and again, the latest with Trey Lance signing pretty much everybody that's done. What's going on in the Texans camp? Deshaun Watson. A little strange there because he's working out as if he's part of the team. He's not been suspended. Doesn't appear that nothing's going to change on that until we get any news from the league that there's going to be any changes. We'll see how that plays out. He wants to get traded, but he's got a report so he doesn't get fined, and he's working out, and things are going pretty well. Looks the Packers have acquired, speaking of the Packers, acquired Randall Cobb. So is this a move for the new general manager, Aaron Rodgers, to bring one of his guys back? Interesting there. So some news and notes from the NFL side, so make sure that you check that out. Again, appreciate everybody joining us inside on Twitch TV. Kev joining us. And if you got any questions, certainly bring it to us. I'll get to them in the mailbag section a little bit later. Want to get into some discussions about the receiver position and how we evaluate that position and the importance and the critical factors, the evaluation criteria for that position. The term receiver, wide receiver, gets misused. I mean, it's semantics, right? We know what a wide receiver is. I think everybody understands that you've got different positions within the receiver group. Wide receivers are the guys out wide. The X receiver is the split end, and he plays on the line of scrimmage. That guy needs to have the strength and the quickness to fend off jam coverage, as well as the strength to work across the middle of the field after making plays after the catch. The Z receiver is the flanker. Normally, doesn't have to, but normally plays opposite the split end. And he lines up just off the line of scrimmage, and it makes it a little bit easier for him to escape the jam with quickness and less relying on strength. They do most of their work outside the numbers and then vertically down the field. Not always. Again, versatility is king, right? But that's usually the skill set that they excel in the most. Then you've got the slot receiver. They work off the line of scrimmage between the tight end or tackle and the outside receiver. They've got to excel in a couple of ways. You got 2 types of slots: big slots, little slots. Little slots got to excel with quickness, and they need to work the two-way option routes and to elude with quickness. There are 2 types of slots: the quicker, smaller slot and the big physical slot that creates size mismatches. The quicker guys are more prevalent as more teams are using their tight end in a flexed out position, but this is where you see a lot of double slot looks. So that's really important. Here's the other thing, we talk a little bit about speed, and 40s are important, but change of direction, body control, agility is important. If you want to most people watch games and they DVR them, right? And this is a little trick that you can learn if you want to, I call it strider speed for a receiver. If you will slow down the tape, roll it back, if a player, any player, can cover 5 yards with 2 steps, that'll equate to a 4.5 time. He may not look fast, but if he's covering that much ground, you don't have to be fast to cover that much time. If you can cover more than 5 yards, 5 yards plus a little more with 2 steps, you're usually a sub 4.5 guy. Now, this is based on going full speed, not just striding speed, but full speed. So what are the critical factors? Look, I mean, the NFL receivers need to find ways to get open, okay, and then catch the ball. And that's a broad statement, but that is, in the nutshell, what they have to do. In order to beat coverage, you've got to be able to separate either with speed or crafty route running. After getting open, you must have the body control to adjust to the ball and secure hands to catch the ball. Catching the ball out of frame is one of the more increasingly important attributes. This allows for a larger catching radius, and it's the ability to catch routes on back shoulder fades, back hip throws. Effective route running is making every route look the same over the first 8 to 10 yards of the route. This keeps the defender off their heels, right? And then it's basically stemming your route, getting a defender to move the opposite direction than you want them to. So good route runners know how to eat defensive backs' cushion with stems and nods in an effort to get them open, to open their hips, and then precisely run a route that is called and to be broken off at the optimal time. Being able to do this while not breaking stride is the key to being fluid and disciplined as a route runner and being difficult to defend. So hands, got hard hands or soft hands? Does he have the ability to snatch the ball, or does he body catch or trap the ball? Very important. Double catches, body catches, yeah, you caught it. All that matters is you catch it. No, it's not all that matters. Yeah, if you're going to run a curl, 3rd and 10, 12 yards, yeah, catching it by any means necessary, of course. But on certain routes, to make big plays, you've got to be able to catch it without abnormal effort, without double catching it, without slowing down to increase the defensive angle on you. Those are really important. Athletic ability, quickness. The other thing, hands. Drops the ball a lot. Does he have bad hands, or does he have coordination problems? Eye-hand coordination problems, concentration. Guys sometimes have really good hands, but they don't concentrate as well, and they turn their head a little too quick. That's a different correction than if you don't have good hands. If you don't have good hands, if you got small hands, it's tough. The important thing to think, and I'm going to show this for the video audience, but I'm going to describe it for those of you that listen on the podcast form. It's really important to make a web with your hands and to get your hands with enough in front of you. Why? You want to get the ball before the defender can get to it, right? But also on a hard thrown ball, when you've got your hands extended with your elbows bent, that allows you to caress the ball in. So the ball comes in, you want it to be like a net and catch it. If you don't extend a lot of guys, they short arm. And they don't extend out, or they extend too far out, and the ball hits their hands, and it's like hitting a wall and it bounces off. You want to envelop the ball when it comes to you. That's an important thing. So those are areas where you can improve your hands by improving your technique, improving your coordination. One of the best eye-hand coordination moves, or what I call the open door close drill. You have a manager, someone that closes the door in a hall in your workout facility, and the quarterback throw. You open the door, and so the receiver can't see the quarterback. You open it from a timing standpoint where the the receiver has to quickly see it and adjust to it and not have to see it from the throw. If you do that, you train your eyes to pick it up quicker. And the quicker you can pick it up, it becomes like easy as pie to pick it up from the corner. It's kind of like when you're playing golf. If you can use a little drill to enter the right side of the hole and be exact, aim small, miss small, well, that's what you want to do. So those are things you can do to improve your eye-hand coordination. I look for athletic ability, quickness off the line of scrimmage, the ability to release, escape jam, separation, quickness in and out of the cuts, the ability to separate, the fluidity of the routes. I'm looking for balance, the ability to turn and adjust the body to keep in balance, the body flexibility, the ability to gather and cut. What's the strength and explosion? What's strength for a receiver? Play strength, explosion, blocking strength, ability to break through tackles. What's explosion? Burst off the line of scrimmage. Strength and leverage into blocks. Strength on the ball and matching up against a defender to outwork him for the ball. Then I want, fourth critical factor is learning/work ethic. The ability to understand coverages, make adjustments on the fly, willingness to spend extra time with the quarterback to get the side adjustments down. You have to see the coverages like the quarterback sees it. And the only way to do it is what? Preparation. Study together. Work together. Because if you make a side adjustment, you come in and you're expecting pre-snap, you see press, and then the corners back off into a bail technique, you're going to make an adjustment. Instead of going for the post, you might run the crossing route. You got to both see it. You got to adjust to the safety. They both can see it. The quarterback can make the adjustment, hand signal, alert signal. You're both reading the same coverage correctly. Boom, there you go. A lot of times you see, where the hell was that quarterback throwing it? You know where it was? That is, somebody didn't read the route correctly. Two guys saw the coverages differently, and one guy either ran the wrong route or he ran the right route, and the quarterback thought he was running a different route. When it's completely throwing it nowhere near the receiver, that's what's happened. Don't know who the mistake is, but you know that a mistake is made. You got to know that. You've got to work on all that. The release, initial quickness off the ball, the ability to avoid jam, separation quickness. Routes, what type of cuts? Sharp cuts, round cuts, body flexibility, quickness off the break, the stride ability, does he have to gather to cut? The ability to get open, the ability to adjust to the ball, awareness, the ability to get deep and adjust to the ball in flight with deep acceleration. A lot of guys can get deep, but their eyesight and their vision is the visual acuity. It's a big thing. It's why we do a lot of tests on eyesight and visual acuity at the combine, is because a guy may be able to get deep, but some of your eyesight, when you're moving and you're running, you will see the ball, but you don't see it as sharp, and you misplay it. You get your hands up a little late, bad position, all of those things factor in. You study that. Playing speed, speed of the player in pads on the field. What's his start? Does he have quickness off the line of scrimmage? Does he have a second gear? Does he have change of ability? The ability to gather and cut, the ability to redirect his body, to accelerate deep and short. What's the quickness off the break? The ability to get open on short routes. What's his stride like? His fluidity in a game. What's the length of his stride? What type of a runner is he? Long strider, short strider. Smooth, loose runner, tight, labors when he runs. What is he? Adjustment to the ball in flight, the ability to run after the catch, elusiveness and threat as a runner, as well as the ability to get deep. Then ball skills, competitiveness, the ability to play the ball and fight for the ball in the air. Player's physical and mental toughness, his intensity, the ability to play with clutch, to win at all costs, to want to be the best, plays with confidence and aggressiveness, want to be the man, want to be in charge, want the ball with the game on the line. Work ethic. It's one thing to say it and want it. What are you doing to earn it? you work at the best on and off the field. That's what I'm looking for. Production, how he grades out. Does he hand catch, his route running, his separation, yards after the catch? How do they react to crowd throws? Does he have the courage and the concentration on the ball in crowds, holds on to the ball in contact, or does he give it up a little bit? The other things I look for, ninth thing, blocking, effortness, willingness, strength, type of blocks made. You show me a long run, any level of football, and I'll show you a good block by a receiver at some point in that run, because it can't happen otherwise. Run after catch, really important. Elusiveness, threat as a runner, breakaway speed, breaking tackles, your ability to break tackles after contact, the ability to show avoidance of tackles, body adjustment, adjustment to the ball in flight, the ability to catch passes in tough spots, the ability to block on the move. Some guys have great speed, but they got to gather and they don't block on the move, so they don't get the guy. They can't redirect him. What's their jumping ability? Some guy can really run, but they're a little late jumping. Their timing's not good. High and low catches. Okay, what's your catch radius? You may be fast, you may be big, but boy, if you can't reach up and catch the ball outside the frame of your body, then your catch radius is small. Your body's big, but your catch radius is small. You could be 5'10" and have a bigger catch radius than somebody 6'4". It shouldn't happen, but it often can happen if you don't have the skill set to adjust low, the body flexibility, adjust front and behind. All those things are important with the overall catch radius. We've talked about vision, tracking the ball, see the ball in flight, adjustment to the ball. Talked about the toughness, the ability to take a hit and maintain focus, the blocking toughness. And then the minimum size requirements that we've talked about. Like a guy at least 6 foot, but 5'10" guys, depending on their body build, big key. What about special teams factors? Look, they should be core return guys. If they've got the ability to make plays after the catch, they've got awareness, they've got eye-hand coordination, they should be core return guys. If they can't do that as well, they better darn sure be gunners on coverage. If you got receivers that can't do one of those two things, something's wrong, and it's going to limit his effectiveness as a receiver because he's lacking some of the traits there that's going to affect him here. So you look at those things. So those are the things that I look for in a receiver. And, I think those things are really important. Who are some of the best receivers in football right now? In the pro game, I think Devontae Adams is really good. DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill's a smaller guy, deep threat guy. Allen Robinson is really good. Julio Jones, injuries have hurt him a little bit, but he's really good. 32. A.J. Brown with the Titans. Michael Thomas of the Saints. Stephon Diggs of the Bills. Adam Thielen is a really good example of a guy that can release and separate very, very well. Justin Jefferson, the rookie out of LSU last year with Minnesota. Calvin Ridley, Mike Evans of the Bucks, Chris Godwin of the Bucks, Amari Cooper of the Cowboys, DJ Metcalf of the Seahawks looks like a pass rusher. So Keenan Allen is really good. Terry McLaurin, really good looking young receiver for Washington. Go Odell Beckham, and Odell's not been as consistent, been a diva, but he's got all those eye-hand coordinations and great hand-catching ability. Kenny Galladay of the Giants, Corey Davis of the Jets, Jarvis Landry of the Browns. I think Tyler Lockett's good. I think Cole Beasley's good. I think Antonio Brown, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Devontae Parker, Cortland Sutton, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Tyler Boyd. Those are just some, some not. I know that's a lot, but those are some guys that jump out at me that are really, really at a high level, very good. How about the college game this year? Chris Olave of Ohio State. His teammate Garrett Wilson's really good. Justin Ross of Clemson. Traylon Burks of Arkansas. Quarterback play may affect his production, but he's a big-time talent. Marvin Mims of Oklahoma. Ja'Cory Roberson of Wake Forest. Khalil Shakir of Boise State's very good. David Bell of Purdue, a slot guy. Ty Frofogel of Indiana. John Mechie of Alabama. Jalen Tolbert of South Alabama. Just some guys to keep in mind at the receiver position there. I'm going to go quick with the tight end position because I think those are really important to understand as well. The tight end, more than any other position in recent years, has revolutionized offenses in the NFL at least, and I think it's affecting in college what it did for Florida last year, for example. It creates mismatch advantages utilizing the speed against linebackers and size against defensive backs. These are freakish athletes, guys that are built like a tight end linebacker type of guy, but run like a receiver. And they are great on the defensive side and on the offensive side. From a roster and salary cap standpoint, tight ends are more cost effective than receivers because you put in all the tight ends and it factors in those blocking tight ends, which their salaries are low. And this is why tight ends don't like to be labeled as tight ends, because a lot of the salary structure in the NFL is based upon the tag numbers, and the tag numbers are going to be lower average-wise than receivers. Passing game formations regularly use a detached tight end, or what we call a Y-flex, where there's a size matchup advantage in nickel and dime defenses and an athletic matchup against base defenses. I think you got to have great hands. You got to catch in traffic. And the less capable you are of getting open, the better you must have hands and the ability to hand catch in traffic. Be athletic and fast enough to threaten the seam while also possessing the body control to be a threat. Running after the catch as a blocker, you got to at least be able to handle your own at the line of scrimmage. Online tight ends must be bigger and stronger and must be able to angle block a defensive end, double team block with the offensive tackle, zone block on a linebacker, and a downfield block. As a route runner, you got to work underneath routes. H-backs is usually a little bit more athletic, better receiving threat, more like a running back type of build, but they've got to be good blockers. They've got to be like a somewhat partial tight end, partial fullback, partial running back. As a blocker, H-backs must be good at blocking out of motion sets, so they've got to be really flexible in being able to gear down and slide and move. They got to be more than adequate position and wall type blockers. As receivers, they've got to be able to stretch the seam, line up some in the backfield, motion out. They've got to challenge the middle of the field and make an impact in the passing game. And their hands and catching radius have to be good or as good or better than anybody in the league. So critical factors for tight ends, H-backs, hands. Again, a lot of the same things. Hard, soft. Can you snatch out of frame? Athletic ability, quickness off the line of scrimmage, release, escape. Strength and explosion. A little bit of a higher critical factor for them. Why? Got to be a bigger factor with their play strength, their blocking. Size, a little bit more important. Blocking, effortness, willingness, learning, work ethic, crowd reaction, separation quickness, ball competitiveness, ball skills and competitiveness. All those things are really important. So I look at other factors in position-specific at tight ends: run after catch ability, body adjustment, the vision tracking ability, the toughness, the release, the routes, third down production. Can he get open and make a tough catch for you on third down? Or can he make a block on blitz pickup on third down? Crucial. Watch your tight end play on third downs. Really study that. You're going to learn an awful lot of what he can or can't do. Play speed. Does he have a second gear? Change of direction. Stride and fluidity into the game. All those things are important. So those are some of the qualities I look for at both the receiver position and the tight end position. It's time to get into the mailbag a little bit. And I've seen Just Marco joining us. Hello, Just Marco. Thank you for joining us, and I appreciate you. Bring along your questions, comments. Tony, good friend Tony Finn joining us here is Kev Belorgo. So we're going to get into a couple of the mailbag questions here before we call it a day. So up to you if you got any more questions. We'll stay as long as we need to get through all of your questions. Tony says, wondering how coaching staffs go about wondering how coaching staffs go about coming with their plan for training camps, things that they want to get done. It's a great question, Tony. So here's how it works. You plan your training camp months in advance. In fact, before coaches go on their little bit of a vacation before camp, they already plan not only the general, but they plan every practice, every day in training camp before they even get to training camp. Now, you will adjust your practice based on injuries, based on how things are progressing. You may need to work a little bit more on this. You're a little bit more comfortable with that. With a limited amount of time, we're going to focus on the things that we need the most on. The way you go about it is you study your team. You have the off-season work with these players. You know what they can handle and maybe where they may have trouble with. When you go through walkthroughs in the what I call the mini camps in the off-season work, you have a bit of a feel for what guys can do and what they can't do. So therefore, you know your position, whether you're a coordinator on offense or defense, guys, we're going to have to work a little bit more on that. That's when you meet on the staff, you say, you know, we've got to work more on that. If you're a defensive coordinator, we've really got to work on our blitz looks. We are really struggling with it, and we got to work a little bit more on that. So we need to add extra time on that. We need to work on that. Or it may be, you know, we got our blitz looks. We're advanced there, but boy, we are struggling. The young guys are in pass drops. Going to work a little bit more on that. So that's how you do it. It's based upon not just your personnel. The guys that are coming in straight from college, you know what they've done in college. You've evaluated them. You've done your homework on all those guys. So even if you should have known, because you're probably involved in the draft process as a position coach, but even if you weren't that involved, you will study every one of the plays that your player played in college at your position that they're coming in. So you're going to know everything you can about them. You're going to spend time on the phone with them, on Zoom calls with them. So you're going to have a good feel for what they can do and what they can't do. Then you kind of work from there, and then everybody at their positions working that. And so overall as an offense, overall as a defense, you try to say, all right, overall, what do we need to do and what do we need to work on? Every day you've got an individual period. Do we need to go a little bit longer in the individual period? Because my God, the tight ends have no clue understanding how to block in this look. All right, we may spend a little bit more time on that. You know what? That makes sense because we can use the extra time for the quarterbacks and individual to work on this, the running back to work on that, the receivers work on a certain route that they're having trouble with. So you coordinate all of that. Okay? It's why it's important that everybody kind of pulls on the same rope, because if you've got one position that's poorly coached and you're struggling and you have to constantly expand your individual period because they're not getting it done for whatever reason, coaching, players, what have you, then you've got to figure out, all right, look, we're going to have to do some things after practice, go through some walkthroughs because we're holding down the team period. And while we're spending time more on individual period, we're losing 8 minutes of team. And we can't have that because we've got to progress in our team period, right? All those things are really important. And you simply work it through gradually. You go in at the beginning, this is what we're going to do. And based upon every practice, you come out of every practice and you look at film. You grade every player on every play in film, and you determine assignment, effort, toughness. Then you've got to go through your correction period. So when you meet with them, then you show them the tape from this last practice, and you go through, this is good, this is what we want, this is not good, this is not what we want, and why we need to do it this way. Do we get it? Do you understand? Ask questions. Draw it up on the board. You got the film. You get it. You need to get it on the board first to know what the hell you're going to do when you get on the practice field. Okay? So, if you've got a guy that seems to have the answers in the meeting room, but for whatever reason he can't get it done on the field, you got to spend some extra time before practice with that tight end or that safety or whatever the case may be. You got to spend that extra time with them to get them up to speed, or it's a problem. If the guys can't get it eventually, or they get limited in ability, then that's where you start to make decisions on personnel. In addition to all of that, every night we meet on personnel. How did everybody do? Your scouting staff is there to evaluate the players. You break it down by position as well. So you get a good feel, a good sample size of how things are progressing, what we need to do. So you take and modify based upon that. then what are we going to do? You meet on the practice schedule for tomorrow, that night late. Hey, guys, we're going to have to work on this. You know what? Let's get together and we'll refine the practice schedule in the morning. You get there, you refine the schedule, and based upon, okay, look, and sometimes you argue with it. We need more team. We need more individual. You figure that out. You work that out. And, you give certain looks. So, like, for example, you might need to, the defense might want to work on their blitz look a little bit more. Well, the offense sometimes has to help the defense out because, look, we're good with the protection, but they need more help on that. So, look, we're going to get better with our blitz pickup because we got to do more blitz pickup work because our defense needs to work on the blitz more. Or we're going to try to attack coverages more because the linebackers have got to work on their coverage drops a little bit more. So that's basically in a nutshell how it works, Tony. So appreciate you joining us. Hey, a couple of notes again before we head out. A reminder, you can, if you listen to this podcast, we appreciate it. Sign up for Landry Football's podcast channel. If you haven't and you're getting this from LandryFootball.com, sign up for Landry Football podcast channel. Subscribe to it. Wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, wherever. You not only will get this podcast, you're going to get the Scouts Eye podcast. You're going to get the SEC Football and Beyond. And a programming note of what we're going to be doing here on Twitch live starting next week. We are going to, at 4 p.m. Central, we're going to have ACC Football and Beyond. And then 5 p.m. Central, we're going to have our normal SEC Football and Beyond. On Tuesdays, you're going to have 3 straight hours of football talk. 3 to 4, 3 o'clock Central on Tuesdays, it's going to be Scout's Eye on college football. 4 o'clock on Tuesdays, it'll be Big Ten Football and Beyond. And then 5 o'clock on Tuesday, it's going to be Scout's Eye on pro football, obviously the NFL. Then we are going to, on Wednesdays, at 4 p.m. Central, we're going to do Big 12 Football and Beyond. And then at 5 p.m., we're going to do this podcast, the Landry Football Podcast. And on Thursdays, starting next week, we'll do Pac-12 Football and Beyond at 4 p.m. Central. And at 5 o'clock, we'll do SEC Football and Beyond. Little bit of a schedule change for tomorrow. We normally do, as I said, 5 p.m. Central, SEC Football and Beyond. We will be doing that this week, this Friday at 9 a.m. Central. Neil's got a commitment that he can't get out of, so we're going to do it there. So the podcast will drop a little later. You can see us live there. So notes there. So again, in short, sign up for twitch.tv/Chris Landry Football. If you do that, you'll get notified before we go live on every show. So you want to do that. Sign up for Landry Football Podcast channel, wherever you get your podcasts. If you do that, you're going to get notified, when a podcast is going to drop. So if you haven't listened to it, you want to listen to it, it's right there for you. So you want to make sure that you do that. Tony asked us, what was your evaluation of Josh Cribbs and Eric Metcalf? Cribbs was an outstanding player. Metcalf was phenomenal. His dad, Terry Metcalf, was a great player with the St. Louis Cardinals. Eric loved him out of Texas, was a great returner, who was a great returner for us. That was in my day with the Browns. I thought he was an electric playmaker. I thought in today's game he'd probably even be better, Tony. Great returner, but I thought he can do things out of the backfield in the short passing game that today is really even more in vogue. So I appreciate Tony's involvement. And again, if you want to get the schedule, all the rundowns, don't expect you to write it down or memorize it. Go to LandryFootball.com. And you'll see Follow Chris on Twitch. Underneath it, it says Chris Landry Football Twitch TV program schedule. Click on it. You can look at it. The schedule's right there. So you can get it all there. We'll be, again, as we're getting into football season, we're going to give you more and more on Podcast Park Family, Landry Football's podcast channel, and certainly on Twitch TV. So we're in the season mode also on LandryFootball.com. If you've not joined us there, check us out. We've got our football season sale. Yeah, football season is here for us. 50% off. Check it out. You can get the year membership. It's less than $10 a month. If you get the year membership, it's less than that, and that gives you a real opportunity. What do we have on there? All the college previews are up. Go on the left side, look by conference. You can pull up by conference, pull out your favorite team, and you can find anybody you want. You can go down and you can see the roster analysis and the preview, the scouting film room preview of the teams. We are breaking out the NFL ones. We've got the AFC East, the NFC East up. You're going to see a division every day now until they're done, and they'll be wrapped up by next week. So we've got the NFC East up today. You can see the Cowboys, the Giants, the Eagles, I was about to say the Redskins, the Washington football team. You get the complete breakdown. Breakdown of all of their draft picks, their depth chart. We give a position-by-position look of the unit. So how does the Redskins running back unit look? And how do they grade overall in the league? We give that to you. And then we give an overview and kind of a projection where it looks like, at least roster-wise, at this stage, how I might project the division. So we've got all that for you. We really appreciate everybody. Kev Belargo says, great show. I like the shift to a more evening schedule. Kev, we appreciate that. We like that. We think in the afternoon maybe more people can get it coming home from work or what have you. And then what it does, it allows us, if you can't get it then, this show will drop. The great folks at Podcast Park, and I got to give a shout out to my guy Dan Matthews, he drops it and gets it done. So I think it's 2 in the morning that the show will drop. So first thing in the morning tomorrow, if you want to listen to something that we just talked about, you want to get more of it or you missed part of it, you can go and listen to it the next morning. So again, you're in good shape if you sign up for Landry Football's podcast channel and twitch.tv/Chris Landry Football. You do those 2 things, you're going to be notified, and you're going to have it all at your exposure. And then if you combine that with a membership to LandryFootball.com, look, it's like having your own scouting department for less than a magazine subscription. So we appreciate you joining us. Thank you for your questions and comments. We'll be back again. We'll be back on Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central, this Friday only, to do the SEC show. We normally would do that tomorrow afternoon at 5 p.m. But again, check out the schedule on LandryFootball.com, the Chris Landry Football Twitch TV program schedule. That'll tell you when we are normally on. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening. Love the football talk, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much, everybody.